Welcome into Attacking Third special Thursday episode alongside Jen Beattie and McCall Zerboni. I'm Lisa Carlin. Guys, we got a lot that we are talking about today. We're taking a look at NWSL Week 17. It actually kicks off tonight, Angel City, Orlando, 10:30 Eastern on CBS Sportsnet. Our girl Darian Jenkins on the call for that. The NWSL standings are as tight as ever. You can't even floss between these different places in the standings. So we're going to see who maybe makes the NWSL playoffs and why. And of course, we have an exclusive interview for everyone joining us on A3 right now. Bay FC defender Joelle Anderson is going to jump on the show to talk about the show at Oracle Park when Bay FC takes on Washington Spirit. So we've got a lot to get into. Are you guys ready for the show today? How are we feeling, Jen, McCall?
Pumped.
I'm ready. I'm in a great mood today.
You are? Why is that, McCall?
I just had a great night. Woke up happy, grateful, excited that we get some NWSL action midweek. Like, this is a dream, right? The Premier League's back, NWSL midweek. How was your night, Lisa? What did you do last night?
My night was great, McCall. It was torrential downpours in New York, so I thought, hey, why not play some soccer, which was really fun. We ended up winning the league last night. Our dub got us the shield, and now we start playoffs next week. So let's go. Shout out to BFC.
Playoff push was strong. You made it.
Playoff push was real strong.
I've been wanting to join a pickup team, though. Like, where do you guys play? Because I'm actually so keen. If you're looking for some extra players, can I join?
Jen, we will sign you on the spot right now. I got you. If I tell my team that I just got Jen Beattie, they're going to like go nuts. We play in New York, in Brooklyn, in some of the parks right along the water. It's absolutely beautiful. We get stunning views of Manhattan. You can't beat it, Jen. Come on out. We need you.
I'm down. I might not bring the quality, but I'll bring the vibes either way.
I highly bet you're going to bring the quality. We actually had a former pro join us last night. Any guesses who came out and helped us win last night?
Guy or girl?
Girl.
Allie Long?
Oh, no, that would be great, though. Nicole Baxter, former Gotham player, with us last night.
Love it.
Which was really fun. Helped us get that dub, push it over the line.
You played in the rain as well, hey? It was coming down last night.
It was raining sideways. My shoes are all stuffed with newspaper. I'm like throwing it back to like 8th grade when you have to do that. Yeah, I've never played in rain like that in a really long time. You would have loved it, Jen.
I would have. I'd have been slide tackling. There'd be like, who's this Scott?
Wait, is it turf or grass? And are you allowed
on turf last night?
Okay.
McCall, can we get you out?
No.
We'll work on it. Guys. Well, you maybe can't watch McCall play soccer anymore, but maybe Jen. But you guys, you can vote for us still because we are finalists. Attacking Third is finalists in the People's Choice Podcast Award. So if you voted for us before in the last round, you may be eligible to vote again. So check your email. If you have something from People's Choice, click on it and give us that final vote. We so appreciate you. And thanks if you guys are watching us live on YouTube, on Galazzo Network, listening as a podcast. Thanks for hanging with us. If you're primarily a pod listener, I invite you, come on over to YouTube, hang out with us because it's a great community. The people are going nuts in the chat. There's great conversations. There's a lot going on. Plus you get to see the fun things that happen on the screen. It's a good time. Come check us out on YouTube. We have a very special interview to start this show because it's a big game this weekend on CBS, Saturday, August 23rd, 1 p.m. Eastern. The show. It is at Oracle Park. Yes, the baseball stadium between Bay FC and Washington Spirit. Absolute electric match that you get to watch this Saturday at 4 p.m. Between these two teams. So instead of us just talking about it, we decided to welcome in defender for Bay FC, former teammate of our very own Jen Beattie, Joelle Anderson, to chat about it. Hey, Joelle, welcome into A3. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Oh, good. Now we can hear you.
Oh, good.
We weren't sure if you were going to be at home, but it looks like you're at the facilities already. Quite early.
Quite early, yes. Early morning.
Well, thank you for doing this. I hope it's not us that officially pulled you out of bed, but if it is, we are really happy to chat with you. So thank you. This is a huge week for Bay because you get to take on Washington Spirit at Oracle Park. It's honestly nothing new for Bay considering you guys played at Wrigley last year in Chicago, but this time the game is at Oracle Park in San Francisco. And for a San Jose native like yourself, How cool is this?
Yeah, it's amazing. When we first found out, I was like, oh, there's no way that could be a thing. Because like when we played at Wrigley last year, I'm like, oh, that was like a one and done thing. And then for us to bring it back to be in like my hometown, my city, is just a dream come true. Because I grew up going to that ballpark. It's a very special place for me and my family and my friends. So just to go back there and make history there is just a dream come true.
That is so amazing. So talk about, because you grew up going to places, and what is it like now playing in your hometown? You spent some time early in your career playing for a different club team, but now that you're back home in the Bay, playing in front of your fans and family, what does it mean to you to play in your hometown, and potentially other players that they get that choice to do that now?
Yeah, it's just been a huge blessing for me just to be back in my hometown. The Bay Area just craves just supporting women's sports and women's soccer now that we have like a WNBA team here, and then Bay FC. Just the Bay Area is such a big place for women's sports, and so for me to be able to come back here and finally be that role model for little girls growing up in the Bay Area is just such a huge opportunity for me, and it's just a big blessing. Yeah, I'm just so excited to be back home in front of fans and friends and family. So yeah, it's just been a really cool experience for me.
Joe, I want to talk about a little bit about the game specifically. Obviously, this time last year, BFC were in a little bit more of a better position. What do you guys think you need to do to go to that next level, especially get spirit? Because you're going to have so many fans behind you, right? We know how epic the Bay Area is. You're going to have the fans behind you. But what do you need to do to win this game and really push to that playoff spot?
Yeah, obviously we're not in the most ideal position right now, but like you said, we're having almost 40,000 people behind us. So I think just using that to our advantage, using the crowd to hype us up, it's just like an experience unlike anything. So yeah, just use the crowd to our advantage. I think we're just really going to go at them, just we have nothing to lose, just give everything we have, and hopefully it'll just be a really electric, exciting game. So yeah, we're just going to go at them from the jump and hopefully use the crowd to our advantage for sure.
I love it. Another thing, mate, when Lisa introed you to this show, right, she said Bay FC defender.
Hey.
I want to get into that because so obviously football can chop and change, right? But a positional change for you has been pretty big this year. Midfield going to centre back. How have you found it? And any challenges? Anything you've loved about it? I'd love to know how you're getting on, because I think you're killing it. Like I've always,
thank you.
You're like one of the most technical players I've ever played with. And when I saw you there at centre back, I was like, yeah, baller.
Yeah, well, they came to me beginning of preseason. They're like, hey, like, what do you think of center back? I thought they were totally joking. And I'm like, oh, yeah, like, they're just throwing out the idea there. I never really thought it would, like, come to fruition. And then preseason, they put me back there. I've played all the positions, but never played center back before. So I thought it would work really well to my skill set. Like you said, very technical. I'm very calm on the ball. The defensive part has definitely been the most difficult thing for me. Just, always being aware of, like, you have the whole field in front of you. And obviously, like, you're the last, or like one of the last people in line. So you have to really just be locked in at all times. And so I think the defensive part has definitely been one of the biggest shifts for me. But obviously I have veterans like Kelly Hubley, Abby Dahlkemper to help me through that position. So they've just been, I think, one of the biggest support systems for me, just showing me the ropes and how it's done. So I think that's been really making my transition a lot easier, because I have veterans like them who've been through it all to help me through it. And so I think I was a little nervous at first, but just every single game, I'm just gaining more and more confidence back there. And I just have my teammates, the staff, just supporting me 100%. So it's just been a lot of fun for me. Playing against, some of the best forwards in the world is a little intimidating, but I think I've been doing the best I can, and I think I've just done a really good job back there so far. Yeah,
Joelle, you absolutely have done a great job. Like, absolutely, you have.
You know what I think would stress me out the most is the offside line, staying in the line, checking. I'd be like, is it my fault? The 1v1 battles, I got that. I would love that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I'm just used to having so many people around me, and then you're finally in the back line. You turn around, you're like, oh, no one's there except for your goalkeeper. So that's been interesting for sure.
But you're still scoring goals. You're still contributing in the attack for Bay. Frankly, Joelle, you just do it all on all sides of the ball. Now that you have played center back and you've gotten so many reps, what is something that you've really like added to your toolbox in learning this position and playing alongside Abby Dahlkemper and Kelly Hubley?
Yeah, I think just more of a leadership role. I think I'm really working on my communication. I'm not the loudest person on the field, but when you're back there, I feel like it forces you to have to communicate because you have everyone in front of you and you can see everything. So I think, Abby, Kelly, they're just great communicators. So they're showing me how it's done. And so I think I've just really taken that next level in my communication and that leadership role and just really keen into that. And so that's been a really important factor for me so far.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about this game this weekend coming up because we've heard that over 35,000 tickets have already been sold for this match, which is crazy, Joelle. So usually PayPal Park seats 18,000. Now this is 35,000. You just mentioned you're not the loudest player on the field. How is this going to change the game for Bay being in front of 35,000 at Oracle Park?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be very loud. Yeah, like 40,000 people. We played at Wrigley last year, which was 35, and that was super loud. So yeah, just to have that same amount of people, even more, hopefully sold out 40,000. Yeah, you're gonna have to be so loud. You're probably not even gonna hear, the sideline, the coach is talking to you, and I'm probably not even gonna hear the people next to you. But yeah, I just think taking, like I said, that communication, but just taking that up just to the next level because it's just gonna be an insane atmosphere. You're not even gonna probably hear yourself be able to think, honestly. And so yeah, I think just being super loud, just making sure everyone's on the same page. Know that you're probably not going to be able to hear anyone. But yeah, just really just staying locked in and just on the same page with your teammates so you know what the game plan is and then just go out and execute it.
So 35,000 tickets right now. We're hoping for a sellout. Everyone is. Joelle, this is your chance right now. Look into the camera and plug it for the people. Why should they go to this game?
Yeah, I mean, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We're making history this weekend in the Bay Area. This is huge for our city. This is huge for women's sports. There's not going to be another opportunity like this. The Bay Area, they do it all. I mean, you can't really get more better than the Bay Area. They really do it the best. And so you just got to come out, watch women's sports. It's amazing. It's going to be an incredible atmosphere. So come out and support Bay FC this weekend.
Yes, clip it, run it on socials, run it at the Jumbotron at the game. Okay, so I have a fun baseball question for you, Joelle. You mentioned you grew up going to Oracle Park, watching games, guessing you're a Giants fan. But now that Bay is playing at a baseball stadium, if Joelle Anderson had a walk-up song getting into the batter's box, what would your walk-up song be?
So I'm a really big country fan. I was in Texas for 2 years, so I grew to love country music. Probably like a Luke Combs song. Like I've been obsessed with like Where the Wild Things Are, something like that. Just Luke Combs, really just leaning into that country vibe. I love country, and so probably one of his songs for sure.
Yeah, that's a really good shout. Love Luke Combs. Maybe we can try to get Bay to play it for you this weekend at the stadium. How cool. How cool. Congratulations on everything this year, the positional change, the golazos that you've scored, and this awesome match coming up against Washington this Saturday, 4 p.m. at Oracle Park. Let's go, Joelle. We're cheering for you, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Guys, you can watch Joelle Anderson, Bay FC against Washington Spirit this Saturday, 4 p.m. on CBS and Paramount Plus. It's going to be a showdown for the ages. Rachel Kundananji, Joelle Anderson, Trinity Rodman, Croy Bethune for Washington Spirit. You can catch it all on CBS. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to dive into all the NWSL action coming up in Week 17. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to A3. Week 17 in the NWSL is officially upon us because it kicks off tonight. Angel City taking on Orlando Pride, 10:30 Eastern on CBS SN. We've got match of the weekend on Saturday, Bay against Washington Spirit, 4 p.m. on CBS. That game is at Oracle Park. We just chatted with Joelle Anderson to get hyped for it. And then on Sunday, a doubleheader on Paramount Plus. Houston Dash for Seattle Reign at 7, and then San Diego against Racing Louisville at 8. So you got to get those double screens going. But across this weekend, big matchups, a lot of playoff implications because the standings are so tight. We are going to talk about it. But Jen, when you look at the slate of games, what matchups do you have your eye on?
I think the Seattle game for me is going to be huge. Seattle, Houston. Yeah, I think, look, Seattle off the back of a really hard time, I think. They blew a 3-0 lead against Chicago, first and foremost. And then obviously the derby against Portland, they lost 4-2. And they scored early in that game, but it just became a little bit chaotic. But for me, I think Seattle have got a lot to lose this weekend. I think Houston are just off the back of a good run, 2 wins back-to-back. That they've not done that in a couple of seasons now, and I think they're finding form. This is a game that I have no idea where Laura Harvey's head might be at coming into this, just because defensively, if you're
fuming a little bit,
if you're, how many goals? That's 7 goals over 2 is a lot to concede. So I think, but look, any game you're watching a team, or if you're in a team, you're up 3-0. To go out and get a tie from that and not get the win was huge. So I think this is a big game for Seattle. I think they're in an okay position, but if they could slip, and I think we talked about this, and I think you guys will have more to say, but this is an important point in the season where teams will start to climb or slip. That's the way the ladder is going to work, and there's not a lot of difference at that part in the table whatsoever. So for me, that's definitely one to watch. I think Houston of some period they're going through, getting points, climbing, doing really, really well. I don't think many people really expected that coming into this past couple of weeks. So that's a big head-to-head. And I can only imagine in the Seattle locker room what it's like day to day. They're going to be fine-tuning details, and not even that, maybe looking at fundamentals. How do you manage a game? They're scoring goals. That's not the problem. The problem is how many they're conceding. So for me, this is a huge weekend for Seattle.
And Seattle scoring goals without players like Mia Fischel, Lynn Biondolo, even on the pitch, right? If you think back to their game earlier this week against Chicago, it was other players, Jess Fishlock, Adamas, being key cogs in the attacking wheel for Seattle. You're exactly right, though. I'm not worried about them on the attacking end of things because of the reinforcements of Fischel, Biondolo, Heitema that can come in. Heitema had a great game. But the defensive efforts is something that we're just not used to seeing out of Laura Harvey and Seattle. Last year in 2024, Seattle had the worst goals against in the entire league. They let in 44 goals. The last time that Seattle was that low was back in 2013, the first year of the NWSL, when there was only 8 teams. And this offseason and at the start of this year, Laura Harvey was adamant about her team was going to be better defensively this year because she didn't want them to be that leaky as they were last year. We saw that at the beginning of the year, but most recently it's been really tough defensively.
Well, I think great point, right? I really do. But then when you're looking at when the goals come, especially against Chicago, it's like after 73rd minute, I think the first one in, and then it was just bang, bang, bang. And I honestly think, yes, subs can come in and impact the game for Chicago, but for me, that's mentality. That's thinking, right, you're 3 points on the board here. We can take the foot off the gas. I don't think you can't play defensively that strong for 75 minutes and then go, right, what are we doing now? For me, that was late in the game mentality, and then the game just got away from them, which is what for me is management. How do you manage that better? And it's but you're right. She's come into the season saying we're going to be defensively strong, and they maybe were for 75 minutes, but you got to do it for 90 plus 10 these days. It's all the final whistle goals. But you're spot on. Last season, far too many goals. This season, it's kind of happening again in this point.
It's mismanagement especially in this last game, but I don't think all the onus can go on Laura Harvey, because if you're in a game as a player, you're up 3 goals at home and you're trying to close out the game, go to the corner, keep possession, look to find an easy pass. Don't take as many risks, especially when you get into the 80th minute, right? Because we could even talk about, okay, they conceded 2 more to Chicago. Now it's the 85th minute. You have 4 minutes left of this match prior to stoppage time being added. Keep the ball. And Seattle didn't do that.
They got casual for sure. They got confident over, casual. And I think sometimes too, when you have top strikers that you know that you can rely on, then you let your foot off the gas a little bit because you're like, oh, we just got me official here. We got Linby and Dolo here. We have Darlene who's balling out for rookie. And sometimes in the back of your mind, you're relying on them because you know that they'll bail you out with their magic, with a goal. You're not as concerned and locked up defensively because it's not as difficult for you to score goals. Does that make sense? Like when you know you can't score goals very easily, you are so focused on defending because you're like, we may only get 1 or 2 in this match, so we can't have more than 1 scored on us. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I feel like that's the casual mentality that has been showing the last couple games, that they know that they have a lot of attacking firepower, so they're not as focused on defending because there was simple moments in the game where their center backs were getting rolled, not tracking players, not getting stuck in on tackles, and that's just a mentality.
Absolutely. Okay, this weekend, guys, we have a huge game between Kansas City and Portland that I'm keyed in on. This is a match between number 1 Kansas City and number 5 Portland, and no one's going to catch Kansas City right now in the Shield race, but this is an opportunity for Portland at home at Providence Park to level up, jump in the standings, pick up points off a Kansas City side that's down right now, right? Because they're coming off a game where they dropped points against Orlando for the first time in 9 matches. And Portland's superpower this year has been their midfield and then playing at Providence Park, right? They are undefeated at home. Those fans get so loud. So I'm interested to see how Portland rolls out, how balanced their midfield can maintain to be over 90 minutes against Kansas City, with Fleming being a little bit more involved in the attack that we've seen over the last couple of weeks, and Olivia Moultrie dropping in, having to do a little bit more defensive efforts initially off the start to kickstart the high line for Portland. But this is a game where I think Portland could easily take points off Kansas City. Not easily do it, but easily, it's very realistic for them to do it.
Coffee's going to have her hands full though, because Davina makes deep runs and Coffee's going to have to track those. So she's going to get pulled out of that underbelly in front of the center backs, and it's going to be some open spaces. So Moultrie's going to have to be more disciplined. They're going to have more organization because Coffee's going to be running around trying to boss the whole midfield, and she's got a lot to handle.
Do you know what I love the most about this point in the season, especially if I'm not saying Portland are safe in playoffs because anything can happen. But what I love the most of any team coming up against Kansas City right now, you're just thinking, right, is this a trial run? Are we going to get them in a play? You're absolutely thinking, you're looking forward because they are so far ahead in the Shield race. So I don't think anyone's really chasing that. But if you're coming up against Kansas City in the upcoming weeks, you're thinking, and you're in a playoff spot, you're thinking, right, this is you're writing notes, you're taking down everything. You're like, right, if we face them again, no matter how this game goes, of course you're still going to go out to win it. But no matter how it goes, you're thinking, right, what if we play them again in 2-3 months?
You're thinking, I need to eat my Wheaties for this game. That's what you're thinking. Kansas City.
Yeah, bravery, absolutely. How much do you think Portland is looking at Kansas City's game versus Orlando last week that ended in a scoreless draw, and how much tactically what Orlando did to slow down Kansas City's attack?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised that the game ended without a goal. 2 top sides that are known for goal scoring. I think, we'll get to this a little bit later, but Banda coming out really took the wind out of Orlando's sails, and they didn't really know how to adjust from that period. So we'll see how they look moving forward. But I don't know, Kansas City, you know what happens when you're a baller team like that? They are locking the heck in this week. Their details are not missing. They are like, that didn't feel good. That didn't taste good. They're going to come out even stronger this week now.
I know. I think it was so interesting speaking about Seattle and mentality of not banking on your forward scoring goals. And I think that's what we all love about Kansas City, right? Because they can bank on their forward scoring goals because Joelle will always do, but they just keep it so tight at the back. And I think getting a tie against Pride speaks volumes. They didn't get the goal, but they both kept shut out. So I think that's going to be I think that's just always a thing for Kansas City. They want to go into any game. You can see it defensively. No matter what happens, they're always tight, organized, compact at the back. But no, I think it is an interesting one for the Thorns. I think a lot of people will be looking at how Pride played and how they stayed compact. They didn't press all the time. They pick and chose specific moments when to do it. They guided them at what side when they wanted to. Obviously, it was a strange game with the amount of time it was delayed. Banda going off was difficult. A team will always adapt to when your top striker goes off, but I think there's still fundamentals that the Thorns will look at in terms of being compact and when to press. Because if you go at you're just leaving far too much space to go on an attack. So no, definitely timing of tactically of when to pick and choose when to press for sure.
And I think Portland can do that. They've got the tactical smarts, I think, led by the midfield of Fleming, Coffey, and Sugita to pick and choose those moments when they can go, and also when Portland can go in transition and try to hurt Kansas City without being too exposed in the back. It's going to be a big mental game for Portland Thorns, but because Orlando just did it at CP Casey Stadium, holding Kansas City scoreless, without Barbra Banda, who went down with injury. And now Orlando has to take the pitch tonight against Angel City. Knowing that Barbra Banda is unavailable, we did get to see Hafaeli come back into the mix, her first start last week for Orlando. But the signing of Mexican international Ovalle is officially official. She's not going to play tonight, but this is a moment for Orlando, McCall, right? To bounce back and pick up points against Angel City. How do you see this match going?
I mean, Orlando do not look themselves basically since coming back from the break and even a little bit before. And, especially comparing them to last year, because they did not switch up their roster much. You don't. When you win championships, you bring 90% of your same roster back and you build on that. And that's what they did. But, chopping down the numbers, last year they got 18 wins and 60 points. And so they've fallen off from that. And, there's no way they're going to reach that anymore. They just don't look like they're gelling. Before they didn't have Marta. Banda looked lost without Marta. Now they don't have Banda. Marta looks lost without Banda. They're just not connecting in the same way. They're not that fierce powerhouse that I don't think the rest of the teams are fearing them as much as they did last year.
Oof, interesting. And that's a team like Angel City where they sit in the standings right now. It's a moment to maybe pounce a little bit on what Orlando is not doing on the pitch. But the standings, guys, are so tight. We are going to talk about it a little bit later. But at this point in the season, week 17, it is a moment every single week for teams to either climb a little bit more or potentially slip in these standings. So if you look across the league, heading into week 17, who has the most to lose this weekend, McCall? The most to lose in terms of positioning in the standings?
The Courage. Because they are right there. And they're playing against a side who is not in the run. But it's going to be a tough game because the last 3 games, Chicago has been surprising. And they're a big, exciting question mark right now where they're putting together good performances. And they're playing a tricky side. And They just lost their head coach. They're going through some transition as well. They're right at that playoff line. It's a very, very important game for them. And there's a lot of question marks swirling around this matchup. And they just don't know what they're going to get with Chicago. They seem like a scary, we want to just ruin everybody's dreams kind of team right now. And
a team that has absolutely no fear.
Yes.
No F's if you're quoting Ali Schlegel, like terrifying to play against.
Right. So that's a tricky opponent, and they're going through a tricky transition with losing their head coach and trying to find their way.
Mm-hmm. So a lot to lose for North Carolina. I'm going to go with Gotham FC because they are a team that hasn't won since the international break. They've picked up draws, but they have been shaky, and they are hovering at that playoff line with North Carolina Courage, McCall. Gotham's only ahead of the Courage on goal differential. But if this week Gotham doesn't pick up 3 points over Utah, that to me is going to be a turning point in the season where Gotham will start to slip below that playoff line. That's when trouble comes in. Gotham now has to start treading water, which we've been seeing them do since the international break. A huge lift for Gotham will be 3 points over Utah. So they have the absolute most to lose against a team that's been picking off points of opposition in Utah Royals, and the Ali the Ali Sentnor trade for Utah, I think has given this Utah team a new birth, a new instilled confidence that could potentially hurt a team like Gotham. So Gotham to me has got to button things up this weekend against the Royals.
And Gotham are going to be playing more games with cup games midweek. So that's going to, when you have to keep legs fresh, you're rotating, that you're going to have tired legs, fatigue, travel, everything, more games in the calendar. That for me is huge when you're coming to like crunch point of a season. So I see your point.
Yeah, and then automatically you go into like Gotham and any roster's depth and injury report, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like those are the two major things when you're playing additional games and other tournaments throughout the league play. That's most important to have players on your roster that you can rely on if others go down, you know? So, and that's when experience comes into play as well. You know, these players that are young, rookies out of college, you know, they haven't been playing 24 games in a season and then additional games with the W Champions Cup. They've never played this many games in their life in an annual year. And so that's really difficult on the body and a transitional thing that you kind of have to layer in and really grow into when you're a rookie or a young player.
Absolutely. And with Gotham being at home against Utah, they have to pick up points. They absolutely have to. Jen, you're sticking with Seattle, right? Right?
Yeah.
The team that has the most to lose.
I just think they're sitting in sixth on 25 points, and look, we've spoken about how close it is below that, but I think based on current form and who you're about to play up against, Houston, and the form they're on a contrary basis, I just think it could slip. So it's a big weekend for them, and a weekend that you would look in any other calendar and look at Seattle, no worries, you'll pick up points there. But based on both forms, I'm like, alarm bells a little bit. I'm a little bit worried.
Guys, that's what makes this league the freaking best
in
the absolute world.
I can't keep up, but we're doing it.
Okay, so what about on the other side of it? A team that this weekend in week 17 has the most to gain, because when I look at the standings in the matchup, I'm going with Angel City that's taking on Orlando tonight. We just talked about how Barbra Banda is missing, and Orlando isn't as crack of the whip as we saw them be last year. And where Angel City sit in 12th place in the standings at 17 points, they're tied with Bay. And then there's a bit of a drop off when we get to Chicago, Utah at the bottom of the standings. In order for Angel City to start climbing themselves out of the basement, be more in playoff contention, because although they're not out, 12th is still far from 8th place in the standings. Change has to start happening immediately. I think coming back from the international break, that loss to Seattle was a bit of an awakening for Angel City. And now they've come off of 2 draws against their California rival in San Diego and then against Utah. But this is a side against Orlando without Banda that needs to be taken advantage of. They've got Jonsdottir, who's finding her footing. Her long throws act as set pieces when Angel City gets in the attack. And if Thompson can get going and scoring a little bit, I think Angel City has the most to jump this weekend in the standings.
I'm going San Diego. Because if they get this win, they're saying we're here and we came to play, and we're chasing you, Kansas City. Because with this win, they'll have 32 points and they'll only be 8 points away from Kansas City. They'll put a little pressure on it. They'll make it interesting. And even if they can't catch Kansas City, to be second place is a baller season for San Diego. And if they can get this win this weekend, that just says, yeah, we're a top side. And this is, by the way, only 6 or 7 months in with like a big flip on their roster, new coach, whatever. So it's also an imprint that next year we're going to be a top competitor.
Yeah. For San Diego, if they can get second place in the standings, that means they're hosting the playoff run all the way up until the semifinals, which I think is going to be huge for Jonas Edeval and that team if they can clinch that.
I might flip that. I might go who has a lot to gain in terms of, I might go if Louisville can beat the Wave.
Yeah.
Because
let's go.
They have had the hardest run of games since the break. They played the Pride, Spirit, and they played KC Current right after the break. So they've played literally most of the top teams at that top half of the ladder. And it's been narrow. And arguably should have beaten Spirit. Okay, that game was so
Yeah.
late. Again,
They
we
should
we
have.
we talked a lot about managing the game, and I'm watching that thinking, oh my goodness, just keep the ball at the other end of the field. And it's moments like that. But look, if they can come out of this really hard run with a win against the Wave, that for me could be like a big turning point again in their season, because they would have learned so much from these top games.
I mean, they could have beaten Orlando. It was
That's
an
what I'm saying.
own goal in stoppage time at the
Yep.
end. It was like 93rd minute or something.
Right?
Well, it's
So
quite similar to like the Courage Chicago matchup. Courage is going against that opponent that is growing into their games and becoming this like unpredictable question mark that's growing up like racing. They're on their way up. They're putting on good performances. They're climbing that ladder. They, you know what I mean? So that's a tough matchup for San Diego when you're trying to climb to the top and you have this tricky opponent.
Needless to say, every single game in the NWSL this weekend
Yes,
is a
actually.
must-watch.
Yes.
Is a must-watch. And it starts tonight. Angel City against Orlando, 10:30 Eastern on CBS SN. Our own Allie Trost Martin, Darian Jenkins, they're going to be on the call. Saturday, it's the show at Oracle Park between Bay FC and Washington. That's 4 p.m. on CBS and Paramount Plus. And then a couple more matches on Paramount Plus to round out the weekend on Sunday. Houston, Seattle, and San Diego, Louisville, all of them must watch. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're talking playoffs. We're making predictions here on A3, so we can be wrong in a couple months. Stick with us. Hey, welcome back to Attacking Third. As I mentioned earlier in this show, the NWSL standings I don't think I've ever seen them this tight. In the last several years, it is absolutely teams just on top of each other. We're going to be getting into third and fourth tiebreakers in the standings, because there are only 3 points separating 8th place from 12th place, 3 points separating 2nd from 5th. It is so tight in the table. So we thought, if we take a look at the teams that are on the bubble, so we're looking at Gotham in 8th place, North Carolina in 9th, Houston Dash in 10th, Bay FC in 11th, and Angel City in 12th. Which team will definitely, absolutely make the playoffs when the 2025 regular season comes to a close? Jen, who do you have? Pressure's on, my gal. Everyone, get out your pens and paper. Take receipts in this moment.
Well, yeah, so you can come back to me like you were miles off. I wish I could have asked Joelle more questions on this, but I'm gonna go Bay FC, and purely I have a few reasons, but I'll start with saying whenever I've watched them, right, I've been at a fair few of their home games this season. They create so many chances. For me, it's just about converting them, and they will have picked up. They would have been so. It's obvious to say, right? I'm stating the obvious, but they've created some great chances. Watching Kudananji hit both posts and the crossbar, I'm thinking they go in, you're coming in away with a win, and your season looks different. So that, out of principle, they're creating the chances. It's just about converting, and sometimes that's the hardest thing to do. But as long as you're thinking, right, we're creating, we just need to convert, we'll get more points. Secondly, I think, with my experience anyway, with last season, we didn't start well last season at all, but this was a point where we started to click and we started to pick up momentum. My only worry with them, they do have a lot of injuries. There's a lot of people on the sidelines, big players missing, Menges, Dalkemper, but other people have stepped up. So for me, it's about that group gelling and coming into this last point and taking last year's experience of being like, no, there's still a lot of football left to be played. They also still have the incentive of the final being played at PayPal Park. So I feel like that's always in their mind. That's what you're playing for. So I think they've still got the quality. I think bottom line, they have the quality in that locker room to be in a playoff spot. It's just about executing at a weekend. And for me, it's scoring goals. So that is my argument. And fingers crossed, come the end of the season, I'll be like, yeah, they did make it. Good job.
It's such a good shout about them having the championship. If I was a Bay player right now, I'd call up someone from Kansas City and be like, describe the bitter taste in your mouth when
Yeah.
you didn't get to play in that championship, because that would, I'm even just listening to Lowe talk about it this whole season at the end of last year, of how much Kansas City missed out on playing in their home stadium in an NWSL championship. I think if I was Bay, I'd call him, see what's up. That's a pretty good shout for Bay. It's just so tight. It's such small margins that separate all of these teams.
I couldn't agree more, but in the small margins, I think BFC is a small margin. I don't think it's anything fundamentally wrong that's gone wrong, whether it's conceding loads of goals or, for me, they're doing all the right things right. It's just about converting. So for me, it's small margins, like you said, small between the teams, but for them, it's also a small margin between tying and winning.
And for Bay, if they could either get Kunda Nanji on a little bit of a spree, scoring goals and get her on a hot streak, or as a group level up, right? They have two options in which they can go, which makes this Bay shout to definitely be in the playoffs one of the better ones that we're probably going to hear in this segment.
What do you think, Lise? What are you saying?
Okay, guys, I'm going with Houston Dash. I think that they're going to make it.
I did not expect you to say that. I'm not really. Well, the team, I didn't expect.
Okay, go on. Tell us why.
Look at the recent results. Look at the way Houston has picked up 3 games in the bag, 3 undefeated games since this international break that we had over the summer. Charles Sneed on the show with me live in the chat saying Houston's going to make these playoffs as well. When you look at the way Houston has played over the last couple of weeks, closing out games against Gotham, right? Forcing mistakes, that the Emily Sonnet own goal, the Alozia in the waning minutes of this game, being able to come in clutch for Houston against Gotham last week. And then you look at their play overall against North Carolina that dominates in possession. I think we're seeing multiple threats come out of Houston at the right time, because their ability to manage games, to look at their opposition and understand how can we hurt you, or what can we do to put you in compromising positions. And then also relying a little bit on the flair that Houston has of this underdog mentality of we're this scrappy team that can try to get things done. Plus the way that Fabrice Gatral has been in and around the NWSL. He understands how to manage these final weeks of a season, being at North Carolina, sneaking in at times. He can bring that experience to Houston. And they also got veterans on this team that also have been in these positions where they've missed out small moments in games in the waning weeks of the NWSL regular season. And that mentality is going to help Houston Dash, guys. They're going to make a run. The Dash is going to be in the playoffs. Said it here.
Okay, this is going to sound biased and favorable, but it's logical. Gotham is going to make the playoffs.
Yeah. What?
Yes.
They are only above the playoff line right now by goal differential, McCall.
And I'll tell you why. Because they have experienced players who are clutch in the big moments, like an Astaire, like an Emily Sonnet, like a Rose Lavelle. I mean, their roster is really strong. If you look at it player by player, they have a strong roster with really good experienced players. And yes, they've been a little bit rocky this year, but they have professionals. If I know anything about Emily Sonnet, she is walking around the locker room like a freaking psychopath, grabbing everyone for like little mini meetings and getting every little detail, like squaring it away. Also, Michelle Betos, on their coaching staff. And they last year lost in the semifinal, not a good taste in your mouth. The year before won the championship. So they're in that sensitive moment where it's like, are we slipping downwards? And so they're just grasping to every little detailed disciplinary sacrifice that they can make to crawl themselves out of it. And they have the players with that class and that clutch that will help them do it.
Okay, Gotham was my team that has the most to lose this weekend, McCall. And I appreciate your insight and your ability to ride with Gotham. If they drop points against Utah this weekend, does that change your opinion on them?
Well, and also to consider the opponent, right? So, all the love to Utah, but they're playing a team that they should get 3 points off of. And that's what they need. That'll unlock everything. It'll give them the good feels again.
Okay, but what if they don't?
They're gonna. It's going to be fine. They're doing this.
She's headstrong.
I was going to say blind by her biases right now.
Love is Blind episode right now.
Okay, that's a good one, McCall. I don't know. What do you think, Jen? Is Gotham a shout here that we could see?
I mean, Gotham will always be a shout, right? Based on, like McCall said, the quality. I think you've got a golden boot front runner in your team, then you have to be thinking about playoffs. Imagine someone in your team wins the golden boot, but you don't win playoffs. For me, that would be
crazy.
That's
Dude.
crazy. So I think that for me, it's like, again, it's small margins. You're looking at the goals they conceded, and it, like, obviously that the Emily Sutton one was so unfortunate, but you've got Ann-Katrin Berger playing the way she does, building out the back, and in this league, teams will look at that as something to go for, right? If a team is wanting to play at the back and build up. So in that sense, I don't worry about them. I agree with McCall. I think they have the quality to go and do it. For me, it's just about executing, which I've said already.
And as McCall said, you got to look at the opposition. And yes, Gotham takes on Utah this weekend, but the rest of their schedule, they have to face all the top teams: Orlando, San Diego, Portland. They will play Kansas City as well on top of the CONCACAF W Champions.
But they're better when they play better teams.
This is true. They always do level up.
It's like they match the energy. And like I said, when it gets important, when it gets real, those top class players that they have lock in.
Wait, Lisa, people are agreeing with you in the poll.
Let's go. Finally, the chat is backing me up. I've been on the other side of this so often.
I'm a little bit shook.
I will say though,
come on.
Okay. I will say though, Gotham better be careful, because to your point earlier about they have a golden boot competitor. When you have a striker on your team who's doing everything they can, scoring all the goals, and they still don't make the playoffs, they want to leave your club. Because they don't. You start to lose your players if they don't feel like they're at a winning club on a winning team.
So you think Esther, if they don't make the playoffs, is going
to? They start to look around. They want to go other places because everybody wants to win, and if they feel like it's an empty well, and that's what I'm saying. It's a sensitive time for Gotham right now, but I believe in them. I think they're going to snatch it. They're going to snatch it back. They're going to be fine.
The chat is saying, people on YouTube, 55% of them agree that Houston Dash are definitely going to make the postseason. 33% say Gotham, and only 11% say Bay, which does leave out Angel City and North Carolina that are currently at 9th place for North Carolina and 12th place for Angel City. But I mean, as much of experts as we are, because anything literally could happen.
I know.
Anything could happen. That's what makes it.
We love sports. That's why we love the NWSL.
NWSL. So take these receipts down. Let us know in a couple of weeks when we get to week 26 how right or how wrong we absolutely were in these predictions. Guys, this was so fun. Jen, McCall, did you guys have a blast today? Because I know I did.
I did.
The best time.
Absolutely.
As always, guys.
As always. Well, we get NWSL action starts tonight. Angel City, Orlando, CBSSN, 10:30 Eastern. And then, of course, Saturday, the big game between Bay FC and Washington Spirit. You can watch it on CBS. And we're going to be back Sunday night, August 24th, going live immediately after the following game of week 17. So that's Racing Louisville and San Diego. So set your calendars. We're going to have weekly best 11. We're going to talk to a player after that game and see how everything shook out this weekend in the NWSL. Thanks everyone so much for hanging with us. Like this video, subscribe, leave us a 5-star rating and review on podcast platform. And thanks for sticking with us. For Jen, McCall, and Mark, I'm Lisa. This was Attacking Third. We'll see you Sunday.